Hey everyone! So today we're going to be looking at the Sega Master System Encyclopedia by Slaton. This is a nice book for somebody like me who just got into Sega Master System collecting and kind of would like a reference guide outside of the internet. But the problem is, that's all this is going to be. It's just going to be a reference guide for you. And that's sort of a problem. Like, if you're just like a casual reader or you want to know more about video game history, this isn't going to really do much for you, as it's just going to give you a list of games that you can really get that anywhere, to be perfectly honest. So I guess the major draw for this is if you're a fan of the Sega Master System, which, in all honesty, it's not a bad system at all. It's got a lot of really great games for it, and the library's fairly small and inexpensive for the most part. Now, I do have a few problems with this book, and I'll just go ahead and get those out of the way right now. While the cover is really nice and everything, the paper that's used for the pages is relatively cheap feeling. It's not really glossed or anything. It just feels like your regular paper you would get if you self-published a book. And maybe that's not best for some people. It's fine for me, but if you're looking for a high quality book, like say Ultimate Nintendo, the Guide to the NES Library, this is not on par with that. Not only from just a overall presentation, but from a substance category as well. It's really lacking. What would have been nice is if Derek had added more into this, maybe spent some more time on some of the key games, maybe talked about the differences between the Nintendo and the Sega Master System, or gone into some of the history of the Master System. How there were a line of consoles that Sega released before this, and how this sort of was Sega's first foray into the video game market here in the US. And he also could have talked about maybe the marketing failures and everything like that. It's kind of a crazy thing to do. Also, what he could have done, which I really, really wish he had done, and I know I'm spending an awful lot of time on the game list here, but what I really wish he had done is talked about the games outside of the US. So the games that were only released in Europe, the ones that were only released in Japan, and especially the ones that were only released in South America. It was really a missed opportunity for me that he just kind of only focused on the US. You're also going to notice in here that he doesn't have pictures of the cartridges, but he does have the cover art, which is really nice. And if you look at it, I know the Master System gets a really bad rap for a lot of its covers, and we'll get to a few of those. But some of them are really nice. Look at Aerial Assault here. This is a really cool cover. It's got the crappy graph paper background that didn't work for the Master System at all, but the presentation for the cover is actually really nice for some of these. So we'll go through here. Afterburner's very good. One thing you're going to see is he has way too many screenshots for the game, and they're massive on the page. Also, they're not exactly the highest quality, but it can be forgiven a little bit because this is, for the most part, an independently published book, as far as I can tell. So, what my major problem with it is when you have a screenshot like this. I'm gonna hop on my soapbox here a little bit. For example, we'll look at Afterburner. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pictures. It does not need 9 pictures. If you know anything about Afterburner, you don't need that many. You might maybe just need, maybe these two here, or maybe a ground level and a sea level, or something like that. You don't need 7 of them at all. It's just way too goddamn many. Even with Alex Kidd, you don't see it's the same thing. You don't need 6 pictures here. It's really just taking up space. Also, I appreciate him putting a bigger font in here. It isn't really needed. You could have probably cut this down a little bit, but for what it is, it's okay, but it's not great. Here on Astro Warriors, an example of one of their crappy covers. I mean, I guess it sort of matches it. I think Pro Wrestling is probably the one that is the best example of just a weird cover. And we'll try to flip to that here, but that kind of shows this part back at the game list. There's no page numbers on this. It all goes in alphabetical order, but it would have been nice if he had a specific page number just for easier access to flip through. So let's go ahead and do our best to try to find good old Pro Wrestling. I'll kind of show you an example of a really terrible cover as well. As you can see, just looking at some of the games, they're all really nice for the most part. A few of them aren't all that great, but some of them are really nice. And we're getting there, don't worry about it. Now, one thing I can talk about for a little bit is his game descriptions. My gosh, I'm sorry. He tries to throw some humor in there, and it's sort of hit or miss for me. I don't personally like his humor for some of these. I mean, it's not bad in some places, but for the most part, it's kind of off the mark. Here's good old Pro Wrestling with its incredibly bizarre cover where the wrestler is wrestling his own head and doesn't really tell you much that it's a pretty decent looking tag team wrestling game. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much all I have for this. If you are like really interested in the Sega Master System, I would say this is probably worth it for you, but that's a decision you got to make for yourselves. For me, I kind of I don't know. I'm not really too sure about the purchase and all that, but he did a very good job of putting this whole thing together because it is basically a one-man. He was basically a one-man show. He did a nice job, did his research, got everything in there that I'm pretty sure he wanted, but again, kind of a missed opportunity, and I think he could have put more in. Anyway, guys, thank you much for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments below, and have a great day.